Hey, what's good, everyone? I just want to give you the heads up and let you know that this is basically a talking head video, and my apologies for the poor video quality and audio quality too. But thank you for checking this out. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry. Okay, so real quick, here are some of the parts that I'm doing for the build, and we're going to just kind of do a little quick overview presentation of what's what. All right, so I got the EVGA XC3 hybrid, and the reason why I went with this one is really just because of I guess, stroke of luck, if you want to call it. I basically signed up for the EVGA Elite Q, and as you might remember, that was kind of a questionable launch. I had like about 5 or 10 tabs and F5ing like a chump, and with all the errors that were going on to sign up for it, this is the one that came through and my number was called for it. So yeah, unfortunately, I'm going to have to use this one, which I'm fine with because I'm excited. And but I'm going to have to take off that hybrid cooler to put on the GPU block and the active backplate. And that's going to be my GPU component. And so for the gaming side of the dual PC build, I'll be using the Ryzen 7 5800X, and I'm going to be pairing that with the Asus ROG Crosshair 8 ATX size motherboard, and I got a EK water block for that. I got two 980 Pro 2 terabyte NVMe Gen 4, so very good. Plenty of storage for all my games and whatnot that I want to run for that. On the actual streaming side of the rig, I'm going to be using the i7-10700, and I'm going to be using that with the B460i Gaming from Asus, and that's going to be the mini ITX build. That'll be sitting down at the lower portion of the case right there. And so yeah, as you can see, I have 3 components, main components. I have 2 CPUs and a GPU, and it'll all be running off this one PSU, which is the Fantex Revolt X, the 1200 fully modular, and I'll be able to run all of this on this PSU, hopefully. Okay, so kind of went over all the parts and whatnot, and here's what I'm thinking for the custom loop, and this is kind of indifferent. I'm pretty sure that some of you will probably go, this is totally unnecessary and not needed, and you're right. In all fairness, you're right. But at the end of the day, this is my build, and I'm basing it off a theme, and that theme is going to be, the focal point of the 3 main components, which are the CPUs, both from AMD and Intel, and the GPU, which is NVIDIA. And if you look at these, I'm using each component from the 3 main groups, and I think it's just kind of cool that the branding of these they are basically RGB. So you have red for AMD, you have green for NVIDIA, and you have blue for Intel. And so what I'm doing with my custom loop, I'm incorporating that, and I'm putting every component on its own independent loop. Why, you said? Because it's my build, and I think it's going to look really cool, and it's totally unnecessary and not needed, but I want to do this. It's challenging and it should be fun, if not frustrating, much like how this YouTube video thing is going. But at any rate, so the idea is that I'm going to be independently cooling each separate component. And for the AMD, that's going to be sitting like right around here on the ATX side. I'll be using one of the EK360 PE rads, and that's going to be positioned up top. And I'm going to couple that with one of the EK FTL120 reservoirs. So that one is going to be its own loop. And then and that's the red, so R. And for the green, for the G, the big G, the 3080 Ti from EVGA, I'm going to probably mount that vertically with the 2 water blocks. I have the GPU block and the active cooling plate. That in itself could be overkill, but I have to take the hybrid cooler off that and install that, and I'm going to mount that vertically, and that's going to get coupled with the other 360 rad that's mounted up front with another
FTL120 reservoir from EK. So that will be another separate independent loop. And for the Intel, the lowly Intel, my encoding machine, the Mini ITX will be, mounted down there. I have that coupled with a EK 240 PE radiator and another one of these 120 pump reservoir combos from EK. And yeah, that will cool itself independently with that its own loop. And I'm going to accentuate this whole build with, with the coolant that I'll be using. So for the AMD side, red, I'm going to be using the AlphaCool Crystal Red coolant. And for the green, for the 3080 Ti from NVIDIA, I'll be using green, the AlphaCool Crystal Green. And then finally from the Intel side, I'll be using AlphaCool Crystal Blue. And those are going to be the colors that you're going to be seeing in this custom loops, plural. So totally overboard and probably very unnecessary, but aesthetically, I think it's going to look really, really good in this Phanteks case. So this is a very, very ambitious build. Again, I did another previous dual PC custom water loop build, but that was all sharing one single loop, and that was in a much smaller case, the Phanteks Revolve X, but which I really had a great time and a fun time and a frustrating time doing that build. And so also on the actual tubing runs that I'm going to be using, I am planning on using a PETG. I'm going to hard tube this, and and yeah, I'm going to be using PETG tubing, and unfortunately these have already been kind of like scratched up and whatnot, because like during the delivery they just kind of threw them in a plastic bag, and PETG is notorious for showing up like all these little fine line scratches and whatnot. So what I'm going to probably end up doing is I'll probably end up bending the runs how I need them to go, and then I'll probably end up just hand sanding these to give like a frosted tube effect, which in my opinion looks pretty good, especially if you're using kind of like a more translucent kind of a coolant. It kind of picks up all the RGB lighting, and it kind of diffuses the actual color a little bit better inside these runs. And the size of this, I think, is 16 millimeter OD, and I forget what the ID is, but it's pretty big. And I've never used this size tubing before. My other previous build, I think I went with a 13 millimeter OD, so this is much bigger, and and I'm already running out of space in here. Even though this Phanteks 719 case is really big, I'm populating the crap. I'm stuffing the crap out of it, like Thanksgiving. But yeah, it's going to be interesting for sure. This is going to be a super challenging build, and yeah. So I guess what I'm going to be doing right now, I'm going to go ahead and just clear some test space and maybe change the angle a little bit, and get a better point of view on actually putting some of these parts together. I do plan on test fitting everything. I mean, you might have noticed I already have the radiators in place, so but I do plan on installing the water blocks, the CPU on the motherboards. I need to do an extra step with the GPU. I have to kind of test fit. I'm going to test post everything, make sure everything's working properly. And then I need to go into BIOS and make sure that, since I'm using a vertical GPU mount, I have to go into BIOS and change the PCIe to Gen 4, or I'm sorry, Gen 3 from Gen 4, because the riser cable in my vertical mounting kit for the GPU isn't compatible. So I'm not going to lose too much performance on it, I don't think. There's tons of videos out there, indicating that a range from like 2 to 5%. It's not going to be that big of a deal in my opinion. And also, I mean, I guess technically I could, get a Gen 4 riser cable, but those are kind of pricey right now for some reason. And yeah, I just don't think, $80 is going to is justified for a 1 to 5%, even though you're looking at all these parts right now and you're probably like, what's $80? Like, this is my money. I'm not getting sponsored for anything. I mean, I have a very small Twitch community that is very, very curious about how I build PCs, and that makes me really nervous because, I'm not a good PC builder. I'm very average when it comes to something like this, and this is going to be really, really intimidating. If you're not picking that up right now, you should be. I mean, this probably would intimidate anyone, because I don't even know if this is all going to fit. Thus, that's why I'm going to test fit everything, install the motherboards, the GPU, and try to figure out how I'm going to install all 3 reservoirs. And yeah. And for those of you that were kind of worried about, this falling over, this is empty. I already took it out. I'm not dumb. If this falls over or something like that, people, At any rate, though. But yeah, I'm just going to go ahead and, dive into this and try to get as much done as I can today. And hopefully I'll have a lot more progress, and it'll show up into the video, which, by the way, this is probably going to end up being, in multiple VODs, so to speak. There's no way I'm going to truncate all of this into one YouTube video. So this will probably be 3-4 videos at the most. And yeah, hopefully you folks enjoy it. Again, my apologies for the low quality as far as, video production, audio production, kind of thing. But hopefully you folks will enjoy this, though, especially ones in my Twitch community. Hopefully you'll enjoy the content that's being provided here. It should be a lot of fun, and I can't wait to get started.